And what better way to find out more information on him than speaking to Stefan here, who runs the Yellow Wall Pod, Borussia Dortmund fan, fanatic, and obviously you're going to know a lot more about Mkhitaryan than I
am. Yeah, I hope so. Hey Sam, thanks for having me here.
Well, thanks for coming on. It's a bit of a strange one for Dortmund fans this year because obviously Mats Hummels is gone to Bayern Munich, got Gundogan as well, has gone to Manchester City, and he's rejoined Pep Guardiola. Now you're going to be losing, by the sounds of it, Mkhitaryan as well.
Yeah, sucks to be us right now.
Why is that? Because normally, Dortmund, you do sell players, but you don't normally sell 3 in 1 year, do you?
No, usually not. Usually they manage to extend contracts with their best players, and apart from one. But in 2017, all 3 contracts are running out of Gundogan, Hummels, and Mkhitaryan. And you can call it a knock-on effect, trickle-down effect. But Gundogan decided to leave, but that was clear in a very long time. And Hummels thought he has go back to his old club Bayern and win the Champions League. I don't know why he had to do that, but he has his own personal reasons. And Mkhitaryan thought, well, if all the other guys are leaving, I'm not staying. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully Man United can benefit from that. But what we're going to talk about today, we'll do a sort of 2-part video here. First part is sort of talking about Mkhitaryan's arrival from Shakhtar Donetsk, how his career went in the first couple of years. And then the second part of the video is more concentrating on how Mkhitaryan played last season, which was his best season for Dortmund, and which is, I suppose, leading to his move to Manchester United. So, I mean, the first question is, he joined you in 2013 from Shakhtar Donetsk. How long did it take him to settle down as a player? Was he immediately good at Dortmund, or did he take a while to become the player we've seen now?
Well, that's a question that might take a couple of minutes to answer. Basically, when he arrived at Dortmund and played the first couple of friendlies in preseason, he was awesome. He looked like an immediate hit. And then he got injured in his, third or second friendly or so. And he never really quite returned as the one who we all thought or hoped he would be. I mean, he came to Dortmund with expectations very high, highest ever fee Dortmund played for a player. I think it was 27 million euros, and he was there to replace Mario Götze. Remember him?
Yeah.
And so Mkhitaryan, he did well in his first season. Played 46 games, scored 13 goals, had 10 assists. That's okay, but Dortmund expect a little bit more. So his second season was even worse, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about this in a bit. But basically, he took 2 years to settle in. If that answers your question,
really?
Like the first 2 seasons, more or less a waste. Well, not a waste, but below expectations.
And is that more towards his own ability, or the fact that he was going to a new country? Was that just because of the injury?
No, I don't think the injury really had a big part in it. You have to see Mkhitaryan has a lot of talent, and but the problem always was he had a couple of mental blockages, and he always looked promising, and is, for a football fan, maybe the most frustrating thing if you see in a player all the things he can do, but he's just missing the end product. That he is doing 5 things the right way only to mess it up right afterwards, and
we've seen our fair share of those players.
Yeah.
In terms of his own development as a player, what do you think he's improved at most since being at Dortmund? Is it his finishing? His decision making? What has impressed you the most about him?
Well, I think his finishing overall has improved, but the big thing we have to look at here. Sorry, my girlfriend's dog just placed himself beside me. We really have to look at his decision making and his calmness. I think. It's a lot of aspects. When we look at his development, he played an average season, as I've said before, in his first year. In his second year, he was completely gone. He was absent. Nothing really happened for him. He scored how many 5 goals in 42 games. That's basically nothing. Had 7 assists in 42 matches, and yeah, in the third season, and that's why I'm sitting here talking to you. He turned it completely around. You know, nearly scored 1 goal every second match, and scored or assisted almost, you know, every half a game. 32 assists in 52 matches. That's amazing. Yeah. And Thomas Tuchel actually gave him a book at the start of the season, which is called The Inner Game of Tennis, the classic guide to the mental side of peak performance. And that gives you already a hint where Tuchel thought his biggest issue was, namely that Mkhitaryan had huge mental problems or not mental problems, but he always had this little mental blockage on the field where you could see that his decision making wasn't quite sharp because there was always something in his head. You know, he always wanted to win everything with his next move, and it mostly didn't come off. And yeah, it was a lot about dealing with negative events on the field, like if you misplace a pass or, you know, lose a dribble. You know, the details really on the field that get into your head. And for Mkhitaryan, especially because if there ever was a confidence player, he is one.
Yeah.
But, you know, it would be a bit too simplistic to say, oh, yeah, he had mental issues on the field and couldn't perform because, you know, he was too self-critical, blah, blah, blah. It was also just that Tuchel changed the entire system of Borussia Dortmund and was kind of tailored to Mkhitaryan. It was a bit more of a possession-based system instead of counter-attacking. I mean, Mkhitaryan, he's super fast and very explosive, and you would assume he is the perfect player for an for a counter-attacking team. But his real strengths are basically creating and finding little holes in the opponent's defense, and he can do that very well by dribbling around one player and then finding a really intelligent pass. And
so even though he scored so many goals last year, you would put him down as more of a creator first and foremost.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was Dortmund's playmaker. I mean, Dortmund had like 3 playmakers: Hummels from the back, Gundogan in the center, and then Mkhitaryan more upfield. But yeah, I would say, I mean, yes, he's good at finishing and he's a very complete player, but creativity is probably his biggest asset.
Well, yeah, that's very, very good. And weirdly, it kind of went on to a question I was going to ask you about how Mkhitaryan's attitude and personality is both on and off the pitch, but you've already detailed there that maybe he had confidence and mental issues, which Tuchel was able to solve, which is the reason why he's turned into the player he has been this season.
Yeah, it was Bild, a big tabloid in Germany, who, when the news came out that Dortmund wants to keep Mkhitaryan, who basically headlined, "Oh, has he the nerves to play another season, although he wants to leave?" And yeah, I don't really think that's a big problem, because how old was he? 25, 26 when he arrived at Dortmund. Now he's 27. I think you know, he developed as a person, and I don't think Manchester United fans have to worry too much that he will have these issues again. But obviously, there's always a chance that when things don't go his way, he disappears. But I mean, every player, in a sense, has that chance. Does that.
I mean, how important has he been to Dortmund over the last 3 years? Was it only last year where he really took centre stage, or has he always been a central player?
Yeah, I mean, Dortmund in the last season under Klopp, they finished 7th, missed out on the Champions League, played EuroLeague football, and they at some point of their season, they were in the relegation zone. They were dead last at the halftime of the season. So, you know, it was good of them to have a positive trend towards the end. Otherwise, they would have finished in midfield. And Mkhitaryan, as I said, he scored 5 goals, and yeah, he was partly to blame for Dortmund's malaise in this season, because he just didn't perform well at all. And yeah, he was on the verge of leaving to Juventus, because it just seemed it wouldn't work out in the summer. And only Tuchel then came in and tried to convince him to stay for another season, and then he flicked around. So in the first 2 seasons, all the articles about Mkhitaryan was always how great a talent he is and how brilliant he can be, but that he's lacking the end product. And it was always the big question: when will his breakthrough actually come? And it came in the third season, but if you pay 27 million as Borussia Dortmund for a player, you expect more than just one good year in 3.
Yeah. I suppose it kind of leads on to the next kind of part, which we're talking about, is his final season. I wanted to ask you, what was the biggest change, other than obviously you talked to me that he mentally improved, but what was the biggest change you saw on the pitch in terms of how he was playing, or was he playing the exact same? He was just doing it better.
No, he was just utilized differently. Meaning he had more time on the ball, he had more options to pass, and that's already a huge difference for Mkhitaryan, that he had more time to settle into the game, because Dortmund were very much a transition team before Tuchel came in, and now they really lined themselves up around opposition's defenses and waited for the opening, and a bit more patience in Dortmund's game, and I think that really did well for Mkhitaryan, because he needed that kind of patience to really utilize his own strengths, to wait for that moment to see the run that's coming, to play the perfect pass. And I mean that's a very, very general take, but I think that was the biggest difference for him. And if you play well and things going your way, you gain more confidence, and it's a snowball effect in the other direction.
In terms of his best position, do you see him more as a winger, or do you see him more as a central attacking midfielder?
That's a tough one. I think he can utilize his speed the best down the wing, but he can also be a classical number 10 if you want him to be. It's I don't know how Jose Mourinho will line up, and where is actually.
It's strange, because you're saying that Mkhitaryan's got so much pace that you can use on the right wing, but at the same time,
he can also use it. He played on the left side for Dortmund for the most part.
Really?
But he can just as well play on the right wing. I think he's versatile enough that you can play him in pretty much every central offensive position, and you can also play him in central midfield if you want. Tuchel opted for that when it was a bit more defensive minded in games against like Bayern, for example, where he didn't lead the line but played a little bit more in a 4-3-3 in the midfield. And we are talking here about his offensive qualities, but we mustn't forget Mkhitaryan is brilliant when it comes to tracking back, how to press opponents, and he is very intelligent in gaining possession and really making the important contributions at the back. So
from what you've just said there, he sounds like a perfect signing for Jose Mourinho, because they're the sort of wingers that he likes.
Yeah, he is very industrious. So I don't know. I'm pretty much in love with Mkhitaryan ever since I saw him play and move on the ball, because he is really, really, really elegant in the way he plays football, and he so seamlessly and easily skips past opponents when he dribbles. But there are so many aspects about his game he's doing really well, which is why he is such a big loss for Dortmund and will probably be such a big gain for Manchester United.
I mean, I hope so. If you're looking at our strengths and weaknesses, we've got Anthony Martial out on the left at the moment, but we've had Juan Mata and Jesse Lingard playing on the right wing. So me looking at Mkhitaryan, I see him arriving as more of a right winger than anything else. But, I don't know. As you say, if he can play in central attacking midfield and in central midfield as well, then it gives us options. And again, versatility is always a strength of a player that any manager likes.
Definitely. I think we must, especially in modern football, we must free our minds from he's a right midfielder or he's a left midfielder. Basically, within the game, you should switch around. A player should just not, be like on rails. But it would be good for Mkhitaryan if he changes the position within the game a couple of times, if there's fluidity, if there's rotation, and if you want that, Mkhitaryan is your guy.
And on a final question, what do you think Manchester United fans could expect from Mkhitaryan in his first season? Do you expect him to come straight in as good as he was for Dortmund in his last season, or will he have to make that transition like he did when he joined you guys?
Yeah, well, if only I knew. The problem is, I mean, I already touched upon how big his change, was under Tuchel, and it was pretty much also down to the tactical setup. Now I don't really know how Jose Mourinho is going to play, so I can't tell you whether the system and the shape Manchester United will play next season will actually suit Mkhitaryan or not. We've seen it with Kagawa, I think, when he moved from Dortmund, where he was brilliant, to Manchester United and was completely able. So yeah, I would say it's 50-50 that he has a good transition, but I can't really say whether it's going to be as smooth as you hope. But chances are he will perform well, because there are players that are great in finishing and running into space and all that and creating opportunities when they get the ball, and there are players that can create the momentum for themselves. And Mkhitaryan, he has the luxury of being able to do both.
Well, from what you described there, it's as I said, Mkhitaryan sounds like a perfect plug in terms of a winger that we need that can track back at the same time, because we're going to probably play with a 4-2-3-1, so we'll have two actual wide men. And if he can play across all front three, I do agree with you as well in that footballers these days shouldn't be thinking about one position specifically. They should be able to switch in between. And having that makes an attack so much more fluid, versatile and dangerous, because it's very hard to predict what they're going to do. Thank you very much for chatting to me. It's actually been genuinely quite insightful, and I've learned quite a bit about Mkhitaryan. So thanks very much for coming and speaking, all the way from Philly. But have a great time out there. Thanks for chatting. Everybody leave your comments below. What do you think about Mkhitaryan? Is he going to be a good signing for Manchester United? Is he the sort of perfect Mourinho signing? Does that mean the end for Juan Mata? Let me know in the comments below, as always, and subscribe to United People's TV if you're new, and we'll be back with more videos. This earphone keeps falling out. I don't like earphones, but that's the end of the video. Take it easy, everyone, and thank you very much, Stefan, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and let me know in the comments if I completely jinxed him now.
Take it easy.